Everybody, we'll get started. My name is Pat Fligge. I am the director of Temple Professional Network. I'm really excited that you're all with me tonight, and excited for anyone who's going to be watching the recording afterwards. I am recording this session just so that everyone does know. Just to go over a little bit of the flow for tonight, I'll pause a few times to check the chat for questions, so feel free to leave questions in there. You should be able to unmute yourself. If you do just want to chime in and interrupt me, feel free to do that. But please do just make sure that if you aren't speaking, to make sure you stay on mute for the rest of the session. I'll try to keep this to about a half hour, but I love this topic of networking. So I just might keep talking. So feel free to hop off if you need to. Everyone who registered will get a recording of tonight's session and the slides. All right, let's dive in. So to start, show of hands, or maybe just offer it in the chat. Who here is scared of networking? Like when they hear the word, who gets a little bit worried? I'll confess, I do too sometimes, right? Like networking can be a intimidating thing, even for the most extroverted people among us, right? But who has at least one friend? All right, I don't need you to respond poll-wise to this, but I bet you all have at least one friend out in the world. And that means that you do know how to network, right? It's a skill that we all have. Networking, it has that business professional connotation. It can seem a little scary, but I promise it's not. And hopefully after tonight, you feel a little more confident about your networking capabilities. Oh, I should ask for a second. Can everyone see my screen okay? Someone can just put that in the chat.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, so an agenda for tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about what networking is and why you should think about career networking. Who do you target in your networking efforts, as well as how do you find those people, and then what do you say? All right. So what is career networking? Does anybody want to offer their definition of career networking? Again, you feel free to come off mute or put it in the chat. Just curious to hear anyone's thoughts about what comes to mind when you hear the definition of career networking.
Hi, it's Wanda. What comes to my mind is like going to different career pages.
Yeah, absolutely. And like finding people on those different career pages. I love it. Love it, Wanda. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'll give you my answer, right? There's a lot of ways you can define this. I think about it as finding people who can provide you with one of these three things. Maybe it's helpful information or context just about the careers you're looking at, the search you're thinking about, your targeted employers or jobs. Sometimes it's actionable advice, right? Maybe they're saying, hey, this is exactly what you want to put on your resume or your cover letter for this application, or this job's about to open at this company, right? So a piece of information that you can act on in the short term. And then once in a while, career networking, it turns into people who can really provide active support. Maybe they're willing to tell HR that you've applied, put in a good word with the hiring manager, put in some sort of official type of referral into the company system. So it's a lot, right? It's all about kind of getting information. And I like to think about a spider web when I think about career networking, right? The goal here is to create as many connections as are feasible for you. So we've got this picture of the spider web here on the screen, right? There's lots of lines. Some are stronger than others. Some are longer than others, right? That's sort of how it works in career networking too. These are information flows, just like the spider can pick up on the different vibrations on the spider threads. The more connections you have, the more parts of that network that you're connected to, the more often information in the form of advice or support is going to flow back to you. All right, what is not career networking? We talk a little bit about what it is. What isn't career networking? Anyone got an answer here? Oh, and Nick, I just saw yours. Career networking, leveraging your personal and professional connections to achieve something career related. Love it. Oh, and Shauna, making connections for professional advancement. Look at that. All right, so one thing I just want to say, what is not career networking? That way we've got our expectations on the right page. I don't think career networking means you're going to have someone snap their fingers and hire you, right? I always think that if someone could snap their fingers and hire someone, they're probably going to do it for someone they already know, right? So I don't know that that's the best expectation to have going into the game, but networking can certainly make a huge difference in your career search process. So why should you network? I'm sure we've all seen a stat like this. I pulled this one from the website Zippia, who just said that 80% of jobs are filled via networking. Of all the different statistics I've seen saying why you should dedicate time to career networking, there's a lot of similar stats out there, right? Lots and lots of similar stats. It's all about accessing that hidden job market. And I'm sure folks have probably heard of the hidden job market before. I want to tell a quick story just to illustrate what I mean by that hidden job market, right? So previous job of mine, I was working with an alum of a different institution who really wanted to break into publishing. And so she was talking to anyone that she could find in the publishing business. Some conversations felt like they were helpful, others maybe not so much. But one day she talked to a hiring manager from a job that she'd gotten rejected from a couple months ago. They had a good conversation, got caught up, and the hiring manager said, hey, look, I think next week there's going to be a new position posted in this other department here at our publishing house. Why don't you send me your resume and cover letter right now? I'll make sure that it's already in the pile with HR before it even goes live. Right. So when you first see a job posted on a job board or on a company's website, you already might be behind the ball if that's a company that's sort of been accepting applications ahead of time from people they know. So that's one story that hopefully helps you understand what it means when you hear people say accessing the hidden job market. A second reason why you should network, you want to learn how to position yourself or reposition yourself if you're changing industries. I think that's particularly important if you're making some kind of shift, either to a new level in your career or into a whole different career field. You're going to need to figure out, well, how does my background and experience land for that industry or for that hiring manager? So hopefully by having conversations, you can sort of vet your approach and better understand, what do I need to show to make a difference in the mind of the person who might be looking at my application. Third reason why you should network. The job search is inherently unpredictable and it's incredibly complex, right? It's better to be connected to those information flows that spiderweb image illustrated. I always think that if there was one easy way to get a job, guaranteed, I'd write that book, I'd make $1 billion and I'd buy an island, right? Like the reason that all of this career advice exists is there's not one way to get a job, but by connecting with people and connecting to the information they can provide, you really improve your chances of successfully navigating a career search. All right, who can be helpful? Who can be helpful in your search? So I think first you got to think about, well, what stage are you in? Right? What stage of your search, of your process are you in? Do you need help with exploration because you're more at the beginning? Or do you have a target in mind, right? And sometimes you go back and forth between these two things, but I kind of put them as different poles, and maybe you're somewhere in between. But sometimes you realize, okay, I think I want to do something different. I don't know what it is. I've got an inkling of a few different jobs. Maybe I just need to go talk to some people, learn a little bit more what those areas look like before I commit. Or maybe you have committed to a pathway, right? And so now you've got to figure out, all right, who are those people that are at those target companies, have the right job titles in mind? What information about them can I figure out? And then how can I go and find those people? And what I want to cite here too, of thinking about who can be helpful, it's not always the people who are in your immediate network. There was a big study done about 50 years ago of the strength of weaker ties. I pulled this quote from recent new data that's come out under this topic from MIT and LinkedIn, who did a huge study and found that oftentimes it's the people sort of one step removed from your immediate network who have the most information to provide you. Our immediate network tends to be rather similar to us. One step beyond often has the things that we need to find. Rob, great point here. To be successful, it's not about you. Begin by paying it forward. I love that, right? Figure out how you can help them, that it is this transaction, two-way. Great point. I appreciate that. So thinking about, your own circle of people, how do you get access to their circle of connections, right? Those weak ties. It really is important. I didn't know if anyone maybe had a story from their own experience of that one step removed that might have made a difference in their career, whether it was job searching or business contacts. I'll pause for a second to see if anyone has anything that they want to chime in on this topic with. Rob, I see you on mute.
Yeah,
Go ahead. You guys, go ahead.
Yes. So most of my career, I've been in sales and business development, and sorry, got stage fright for a second.
It's okay.
God, I'm losing my mind. Sorry about that, folks. Your question was again?
Weak ties, how that may be like one step removed
sorry.
from you.
Yes.
Yeah.
All apologies. So in business development, right, your responsibility, or you're responsible for bringing in new business. Okay, nothing's handed to you, and when you are when you're doing that, you know, it's really important, especially taking advantage of your LinkedIn network, to look at the companies that you're responsible for bringing in as new, or at least getting your foot in the door, and see the people that you want to get their attention from, and see who is connected, you know, your second tier connection to them. You may have, if you have a second tier connection to them, that's a really good start. And you can always ask the people that you're connected with, who are connected with the person you want to meet, to ask for an invitation to connect, or, you know, or to just as an introduction. You just want to get an introduction for that person.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
Do it all the time. Thank you.
No, appreciate it. That's great. It's perfect illustration. So we talked a little bit about who can be helpful and why you want to do this, but how do you find the networking contacts, right? How do you find these people that can make a difference for you? And Rob talked a little bit about that just now, but I want to encourage you to all start with who is in that inner circle. I know I just said, all right, it's the weaker ties, but who are already your advocates? You know, think about who's in your phone that you talk or text with regularly, or who sits around your Thanksgiving table. Do they know what you're looking for? Do they know the career search that maybe you're starting out on, or you're really deep into, or the sales connections that can make a difference in your career, right? Do they have some specificity of the kinds of connections that could be helpful? Because just like that data said, maybe your inner circle, they can't be the difference makers for you, but maybe they can connect you to those difference makers. So make sure that you activate those advocates. Now, how do you find networking contacts on LinkedIn or Owl Network? That's what we're going to dive into right now, right? So these are a couple of things I want to show everyone. I'm going to stop sharing in just a second, but we're going to start on LinkedIn. I want to show you a couple tools there, the alumni tool on LinkedIn, advanced search, and then we'll bump over to Owl Network, which hopefully you all know is Temple's sort of exclusive networking community built just for Temple University. So I'm going to stop the share for one moment. I also want to take a picture of everyone's name so we know who came tonight. All right, 1 second. All right, can everyone see my screen? If I get like a thumbs up in a chat or on somebody's image right now, make sure that you can see my LinkedIn. Great, Sean's got me. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So on LinkedIn, if you're not on LinkedIn yet, strongly encourage you to think about creating a profile on LinkedIn. What I want to start with is the alumni tool on LinkedIn. So this works for any university. So if you've gone to other colleges or universities besides Temple, you can use this trick for them too. So in the search bar, we're going to look for Temple University. Now, one thing I do want to mention is Temple doesn't always make it easy on you all, right? Because we've got the big T Temple LinkedIn presence, and then the schools and colleges might have their own pages. So you could do this for both the big Temple and the school and colleges. It just kind of depends on how people tag Temple on their own LinkedIn profiles. So if we go to Temple University, And then you're going to get a menu that looks somewhat like this. Mine's bringing me the employee only experience because I am a Temple employee, right? But you'll always have this alumni button here on LinkedIn. This brings up all of the alumni that Temple has on LinkedIn, right? It's not total alumni that went to Temple, but all the ones who are on LinkedIn and have tagged Temple University. This lets you, excuse me, very quickly start to look at who those alums are, where they're at, where they work, right? It's going to give you these columns here of data where you can select geographically, you can select by company. If I hit the next button, you can look at business functions, what they studied, right? So let's say that you wanted to get into healthcare services, and maybe you're looking to relocate to the greater New York City area. So you're going to collect those data points. And now if we scroll down, we've gone from almost 200,000 alums to 1,400, and they come up as these baseball cards. So you can very quickly start to look at, all right, well, who matches that information, right? Who's doing those things that I'm interested in exploring? Now, while we're here, if a keyword doesn't appear in one of these lists, you can always add it in this keyword box right here that's underneath the total alum number. So again, the way we found that is we just went to Temple University's LinkedIn page, the alumni button. Now we've got all of this data. Now I will say that results are slightly different than mine. LinkedIn rewards people who have more connections. So if you don't have a ton of LinkedIn connections yet, make sure you are connecting to the folks that you already know here on LinkedIn. Now, the other tool I wanted to show on LinkedIn was the advanced search function, right? So I'm just going to go back to the homepage and start from scratch. Up here in this search bar at the top of the page, you can enter any keyword. I'm just going to do marketing for now and hit enter. Now, you've got lots of different data types that you can sort by here on LinkedIn. But tonight, since we're talking about networking, we're going to focus on the people search. So I'm going to click the people button. It's bringing up almost 55 million people on LinkedIn that have marketing as a keyword somewhere on their profile. But if we go here to all filters, this is where we can start to narrow it down, right? Now, most of these filters are pretty self-explanatory. They also generally show up when you're using a mobile device too. Sometimes the user experience looks a little different. So you can filter by location, where they currently work, where they used to work, school. So again, here you want to type in Temple University and you make a decision. Is it the Big T Temple page that I want to filter by? Is it a school or college page that I want to filter by? So I'm just going to do the big school or college. You can also look at industry, profile, language, right? There's lots of information here that you can select. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So now if I hit show results, now we're seeing the 40,000 people who have marketing somewhere on their profile and went to Temple University. Still a really big number, right? You can keep using these filters to narrow it down really specifically to find exactly who you want to connect with. The one filter here that I think is exceptionally helpful and not very well described by LinkedIn, so I want to teach it to you tonight, is this connections of filter. Right? This is where you can enter in the name of someone that you're already connected to on LinkedIn. So think about this connected to that weaker ties point, right? Think about someone who's already in your network, someone who's already an advocate of yours, and you can add their name here to see who do they know, right? So let's see, can I get Shauna to come up? I can. My colleague Shauna's on with us tonight. So I'm going to use her LinkedIn connections. Let's see what we got. 71 people. Right. So now we've got 71 people that went to Temple and they know my friend Shauna. So now I can ask her like, hey, do you know this person that you're connected to on LinkedIn well enough to introduce me? I'm interested in learning more about their career. Easy way to go through someone who you know, get that warm introduction to someone. Now, one thing I do want to point out, I'm just going to pick this top person here. When you're connecting with someone on LinkedIn, especially when you really don't know them and you hit this blue connect button, I always encourage add a note, right? You only have 300 characters. It doesn't have to be very long, but you want to say something simple, right? Maybe I'd say, hi, Rachel, I'm Pat, a fellow Temple owl, really interested in learning more about your career, hoping to connect. Thanks. Keeping it short and simple. If you want to have a specific question there, you can. You'll often have to follow up. LinkedIn doesn't do a great job of prompting people to reply to that content other than accepting your connection request. But even easier, because you guys are Temple owls, there's another step you can take here that simplifies the connecting process, right? So this was a lot on LinkedIn. If we come over here to Owl Network, which I always recommend you keep open at the same time that you're on LinkedIn. The nice thing about OWL Network is once you've joined, we vetted you. We know that you're a Temple OWL. We're going to let you message anyone that's on this site. Now, your email, your private email, that still is protected, right? The system basically just prompts it and delivers it right into your inbox. So if you find someone on LinkedIn that you want to talk to, I suggest you come over here to OWL Network, go to the networking button, and you can type their name into the search bar up here and see if they have an activated profile here on OWL Network, right? So it's going to show me some suggested connections, but I could always go up here and search and type in someone's exact name. Oh, good question, Shauna. All right, I'm going to come back to that in a second. Shauna has a question about first or second connections on LinkedIn. All right, now back here on OWL Network, the one thing I also wanted to point out here that's super helpful, specific to this website. If you come up here in the top, you'll see there are some filters like there were on LinkedIn, right? Location, major, industry expertise. So you can really narrow it down in a similar way. The added benefit here on OWL Network is under the more filters, you can go here to help topics and see exactly what kinds of career questions people are willing to answer. So hopefully it reduces that concern of, hey, is this person going to respond to me, right? Are they really willing to have this kind of conversation? Well, here in OWL Network, we've prompted them to say the exact types of advice that they want to give, right? So you can come here and see, all right, am I asking about a resume and cover letter? Am I asking about making a career change? These are when you join OWL Network, when anyone joins, it asks you, hey, what kind of advice are you willing to provide? So this will help you figure out what kinds of questions are best for the person I'm reaching out to. And what I would encourage is, even if they haven't checked the box, try anyway, right? Worst case scenario, they just don't respond. That's okay. You know, it didn't take too much time to send that message. All right, Shauna, I want to get back to your question. Filter connections by first or second on LinkedIn. I'd say keep it broad, right? First degree connections might be good to check every once in a while, because I feel like I say yes to connection requests and maybe I don't always really know them. So maybe I want to go there to find people that I've connected to, but I haven't ever really spoken with. But I think primarily what you're going to use LinkedIn is likely to find people who are a little bit more removed from your own network. But I would say that, you know, not even to necessarily check those boxes, really just hone in on the keywords, the topic areas that you're focused on, and see what comes back. Because I feel like sometimes we just forget what our friends or family do for a living, and that can be a good reminder. So I hope that answered that question. I know I went quick through those two systems, so I do want to pause, see if anyone has questions, want me to demonstrate again how I got to any of those features. Again, you'll get the recording so you can watch this on loop if you're like, all right, how do you find that specific button or filter? But we'll pause for a second to see if anyone does have questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat or come off mute.
Hi, it's Wanda. Do I have access to OWL Network?
You should, Wanda. So the easiest way to join is using your Temple email, your AccessNet credentials. If you don't know those, on our website, there's a way that you can request them. You can also join using your LinkedIn. It just might take a day for us to validate that you are a Temple alum. So that you all should have gotten an email reminder from me about tonight. If you go to the TPN homepage that I linked to, there'll be links to OWL Network from there to join.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Any other questions? All right, let me hop back into my PowerPoint. All right, someone give me a wave. You can still see the PowerPoint. Perfect. Thanks, Shauna. Okay, so I wanted to pause for a second. You kind of got a hint of what this number might be, but maybe you're wondering like, all right, well, but really, like, who's out there? How many connections are really possible for me to make, right? So there's this guy named Metcalf who has these. He does math on like network size, right? And he has this law that's named after him, pretty cool, that network size is proportional to the square of the users, right? So if you take the number of people in the network and multiply that number by itself, that's the total possible connections that you could make. So does anyone have a sense of how many Temple alumni there are? Anyone want to take a guess? Drop it in the chat. You know, like the LinkedIn, that search, okay, you gave it away, you know, like what ballpark we're in. All right, well, the number that I found was about 360,000. And when you multiply that by itself, you get 130 billion. So there is, I almost guarantee it. If you're thinking like, hey, is there someone out there who does the thing I'm interested in? I bet there is, and I bet they're a Temple owl, right? I bet you we can find that person in the Temple community that's doing that thing you're interested in. All right, so maybe you're still a little bit worried, like, okay, can I really do this? Can I reach out? What's that going to be like? What I find is talking about, all right, what am I going to say when I reach out and what am I going to say when I talk helps make that process feel a little bit easier. And that's where I want to go next. I want to give you all an outreach template of what should I be saying when I reach out and ask someone to talk with me, right? So it's these 5 ingredients. This is a really wordy slide. I know I'm breaking like PowerPoint best practices. Now there's too many words for you to look at, but you're going to get these slides and you can use this for reference. So I just want to go through what are these 5 main points that I've got here that I feel like any introductory message should have. So first off the bat, you want to introduce yourself, whether it's in person, virtually, and just in a line or two, right? Who you are, your name, your title. Title doesn't have to be a job title if you're a current student or take on a career break, but just give them a sense of here's who I am. And the second thing you want to do is you want to establish the connection. So if you're using Owl Network or LinkedIn to find a fellow alum, just make sure they know that, right? Say like, hey, I'm a fellow Temple Owl. This is the school I went to. This is when I graduated. This is what I studied. If it's not Temple, just tell them, hey, this is how I found you. I knew someone who was really interested in getting into finance, and he was also into deep sea fishing. And so he searched for everyone on LinkedIn in New York City that had finance and deep sea fishing on their profiles. And that's how we started every conversation, because that's kind of a niche hobby, right? And so if someone's reaching out and saying, hey, we've got this overlap, I'm probably going to answer them. So just give them a sense of like, here's our connection. Here's what it's based on. The third thing you want to do, this is probably the most important one, and it's where you got to do a little reflecting of yourself and think about what stage am I in, but you want to give them a sense of what are you looking to talk about, right? What kinds of questions do you have? Now, I don't think you need to list every question you have for this person in an introductory email. I also don't think you need to have a ton of questions coming into a conversation. 3 to 5, that's probably going to be enough. Hopefully it sort of naturally flows from there. But give them a sense of what you're looking to talk about, right? If you're towards the beginning of your search and it's exploration, say that. Say, hey, I'm at the beginning of thinking about my next career. I think I want to make a switch into your industry and would just love to learn more about what it's been like, right? Or if it's really targeted, say, hey, I'm looking at job applications for people with your job title, and I'd love to talk with you about what stands out on an applicant's profile, right? Just give them a sense, here's where this conversation is going to go. All right, fourth thing is really key, because who among us has not been trapped in a back and forth trying to find a time? If you're reaching out through Owl Network or LinkedIn, what I say is give them some times you're free, right? Make it easy for them to respond and say, yes, I'm happy to talk with you, and I'm also free next Wednesday after 4 o'clock, right? Just make it super simple to connect that way. That way you minimize that back and forth and you can get right to the conversation. And then finally, in this outreach message, always finish with a thank you, right? Just say thanks, looking forward to talking with them. So you'll get this. Hopefully this template helps you navigate reaching out to people. It makes it feel a little bit easier, because I know that can be anxiety provoking. Or what am I going to say to this stranger, right? All right, let's talk a little bit about conversation strategy. And I know we're at the 7:30 mark. I knew it was going to go long, but I appreciate if you can hang in with me. We're getting close to the end. So conversation strategy, right? Thinking about what stage am I in? Just as I mentioned, are you more on the exploration side, or are you more at the targeted side? Are you trying to figure out things about the field in general, or are you trying to get interview advice, application advice on hiring trends? So just thinking like, all right, really, where am I? And I always try to say to people, think about how you can phrase your ask as an ask for advice, not for influence. I think if you've ever been on the receiving end of a question like this, maybe you're worried that the person's going to say like, hey, can you help me get hired, right? Can you exercise some influence on this process? That can be dicey, and not everyone has the capacity to. So if you make it really clear that, hey, I'm asking you for some advice on this topic, I think it makes it shows that you're trying to better yourself. And it also sort of gives them an out. Like it shows, okay, they don't need to actively exert influence on a process. I also saw a study that if you ask for advice, not help, so if you use that word advice, instead of saying like, hey, can I get your advice versus, hey, can I get your help? People are much more likely to respond when you use that advice word. I also think, fourth point here, think about what's reasonable to expect from the conversation. Some people can help you a little bit. Some people can help you a lot. Maybe this person's not going to give you any new advice, but it's a contact at a new company for you. And so it's sort of a longer term gamble that, all right, they didn't give me any actionable advice in this one conversation, but now I have a contact at a new company. So they might be able to provide you with some help down the road. And that's what I kind of mean by one-time or long-term contact. You might have a conversation with someone, it might go great, and that was all it was. And that's okay. Say thanks, right? But some you might realize like, okay, this person was super helpful, or I could see them being helpful again in the future. So thinking about how can I continue to check in and just be mindful of when was the last time I talked with them? Can I touch base with them once a quarter just to stay on their radar? Last point here, for any conversation by the end that you feel has gone well, the last question you should ask is if they could connect you with someone from their network that they think can be helpful. Makes this a very organic process and easy to keep your networking game going. So that way you don't always have to do the cold outreach. But if you've had a good conversation with someone, say, hey, is there anyone else that you think could be helpful as I'm thinking about the topics we talked about in this conversation? See where that leads you. Last point, because again, I know this can be a little bit, worrisome of what is this process going to look like? Are people really going to get back to me? I want you to go into networking assuming that everyone wants to help, right? Let's just assume that. Let's make that our base assumption that everyone probably wants to help. And if they didn't get back to me, it's not personal. Maybe they just missed the message. Maybe they got distracted by it. But let's assume that people want to help you, because I think that in general, they do. Now, sure, you've got to ask nicely and you've got to be reasonable with what your ask is. But don't be afraid of rejection. This is a numbers game. You're going to get ghosted sometimes. That's okay. It's better to get a no or a no response than not even try. And sure, maybe you want to consider social capital, right? If you got to save this person because they could be really helpful, but you got to ask them at the right time, that's fine too, right? But let's just go into this assuming that everyone wants to help. And let's see what happens when we operate with that assumption. So that was my big last point. I wanted to make sure that I left you with a good one. I will stay on for a few minutes, answer any individual questions that anyone has. We'll stop the recording in a second too. But that is my email. So feel free to follow up with me with any questions that you do have. You should have a reminder email from me in your inbox, but I'm really grateful for everyone coming tonight. And please, I know that you're all excited to spend time on Owl Network and LinkedIn. Don't forget to go to bed tonight. All right. And I know you're all excited about networking now, but you pace it, all right? Pace it out. But thank you all so much for coming. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, I'll stay on for a few minutes in case anyone has any questions.